Hello, I'm Toshio Watanabe, and I'm professor for Japanese Arts and Cultural Heritage at the Sainsbury Institute. I have a Japanese father, a German mother, and was born in Switzerland and grew up in Japan, then studied in Tokyo, Basel, and London, and now I happily live in Oxford, England. So you can see I was always interested in cross-cultural issues, but especially I'm interested in the question of what is Japanese culture. For my PhD, my PhD topic is High Victorian Japanism, where I investigated how the Victorians interacted with Japan. Then from there, I moved into investigating how the Japanese interpreted British art and culture. And then I got really interested in the entire transcultural cultural mix. I was so fascinated by that. And then in 2004, we set up a research center for transnational art, identity, and nation, short for TRAIN, at the University of the Arts London, where I taught many, many years, and eventually I retired from there in 2018, and now I work for the Sainsbury Institute. Japanism is usually interpreted as Western taste for things Japanese. And in that sense, it is about Western culture. However, things are never that simple. For example, in the 19th century, many Japanese officials and dealers who promoted Japanese art in the West, once they're back in Japan, they became actually the promoters of Western art, for example. And so these things are getting very complex. And how I see Japanism is that the Japanism is only a facet, a part of a larger cultural intermingling mix, I think. Yes, very much so. Japanism provides a kind of paradigm for interpreting culture both for others, but also for your own. So Japanism is about interpreting Japan. So if you're interested in Japanese culture, whether you like it or not, you are already getting involved with Japanism in one way or the other. We have to get away from a monolithic and purist view of Japanese culture. And Japanism studies, I think, provides wonderful opportunities to do just that. I love many aspects of Japanese culture and art, but it doesn't mean that I have a purist view. There is no such thing. And why there's no pure Japanese art culture? Because the Japanese art and culture are so many. It's consisting out of many different things. And that's why it is so fascinating. And also, what I wanted to do with this collection of papers is to problematize Japanism and also Japanism studies. And for example, one thing, because I work in both countries, in Britain and Japan, in many fields. And for example, when I talk to historians of Western art in the West, they think Japanese culture is a single unit. Exactly the same way, when I'm talking to historians of Japanese art in Japan, they very often see Western art as a single unit, single thing. There is no such thing. See? So I find this very interesting and fascinating. Well, I hope everyone who has the question of what is Japan will find something which might really intrigue you. This is just a selection from my recent papers, and I hope you will enjoy reading them. Thank you very much for your interest.